Hey folks, this is not Rainiac.
And I'm
But this
also not
is-
Rainiac.
Yeah, but this is a Doctor Who Series 8 review of Episode 4 of the Capaldi era. Listen! Rainiac is not here. He caught a bad bout with the Spectrox Toxemia, but he should probably be recovered by next week, so that leaves Kuchiri and I to talk about Listen.
And it's about his time to do the, saying out review.
So, yeah, so...
Yeah, he's not here, right?
No, I don't. Of course he's not. No.
Okay.
I look behind me. He's not here. So this is your spoiler warning. Warning: there are spoilers. This has been your spoiler warning.
Oh man, that was a good spoiler warning.
It's nice and succinct. So, by God, that was a 45 minutes of television that aired worldwide called Listen, and well, I kind of liked it. What did you think?
I liked it. It felt like filler, and I think I actually can say I called it. Last week I said that it was probably going to be nothing, and that would piss me off. And it turned out to be nothing. I'm alright.
Yeah, I'm in the same sort of thing there. It was nothing, but well, we should probably talk about what the implied something was.
Yeah, so should we just do this how Rainiac doesn't start from the beginning?
In the beginning, well, let's. How should we tackle this?
That whole intro where he's talking to himself in the TARDIS was kind of weird.
Weird, maybe, but visually is a fantastic sequence, I think, because you pan up from the TARDIS in space to the Doctor meditating on top of the thing, and the bit where he's underwater and I guess the TARDIS shielding is protecting him from the water coming in. He's got the door open. He's looking at pufferfish.
Mm-hmm.
My God, that is pretty. And well, he's just basically an old man talking to himself about evolution and really spooky stuff. He's planting seeds of paranoia into the audience's head. Well, Stephen Moffat's doing this because Stephen Moffat has made it his mission in life to make every youngster in England piss him themselves.
Yeah, I mentioned that the whole intro to this last week or whatever was something. I mean, it was the preview felt like it was trying to emulate Blink. Yeah, and I
Blink, Listen. I mean, you're...
Well, yeah, and it also emulated there was 2 other episodes that he used. At Midnight was another episode that used the same type of preview introduction, and then the Dollhouse episode. Night Terrors did the exact same introduction that's trying to emulate the whole thing we all got from Blink. It's this whole time I thought, I said either we're going to get an epic monster or we're going to get nothing. But I guess we could go to the whole meat of the episode where Clara is trying to have a date.
Oh boy. Clara's date is actually the one part of the episode I didn't like. It's just awkward people having an awkward first date, and that has its place, but it's just...
Yeah, no.
That was kind of the weakest part of Into the Dalek, was Clara and Danny Pink going, I don't want to have a drink.
And another thing I pointed out, I wasn't here for that episode, but, I mentioned in the Skype call that Clara's a bitch. Way to make her seem like an awesome character when within 3 minutes of meeting someone, she insults him completely.
Oh, hi. You were a former soldier, right? Yeah. Soldiers suck.
Basically. And she ends up doing the exact same thing. And then, whenever he revealed that, what he actually did, she made fun of that.
God, it's a little...
At least she's, hot, I guess.
You guess. Jenna Coleman, if you're somehow here, I'm sorry. You're a very nice-looking lady, but we hardly shouldn't be talking about that. We should probably be talking about your acting skills instead, which are very good. Okay, I think we're covered. She's not going to kill us.
Yeah,
Impossible Girl's not going to impossibly come for us. Okay.
The Impossible Girl. Anyway, so basically what happens is she has an awkward date.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the whole beginning scene is her screwing up and her going throughout her house like, God, I'm an idiot and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same exact thing as Into the Dalek, except it's Clara now instead of Danny.
Yeah, and then she goes into her bedroom and there's the doctor, which would have been an awkward situation if the date actually worked and she brought him home.
That would. There you go. That would be your introduction to Danny Pink and the TARDIS. Doctor, I have a date. Well, bring him along. Come on, we've got work to do, Clara.
I'm surprised she didn't bring it up. The entire episode, she could have brought up that she knew, like, that she was on a date with this guy named Danny Pink. That's all. Yeah. And then, like,
there's reasons for that sort of thing, but we'll get into that in a bit, I think.
Well, they end up going back in time because the doctor really wants to see if he can see one of these monsters. Basically, the whole evolution scene, he was like, well, there's monsters that evolve to hunt. There's monsters that evolve to defend. But what about monsters that can evolve to hide perfectly?
Ooh. How would you ever know they were there? They could be behind you out of the corner of your eye. Ooh! Children of England hide behind the sofa! Stephen Moffat's coming here to scare you!
Yeah. So he thinks if he can catch someone in the act of one of those dreams, he can catch one of those monsters.
Yeah, because he theorizes that everyone at some point in their lives has a dream where they get out of bed and something grabs them from under the bed, grabs their ankle with a hand.
Which I haven't had that dream yet.
My bed doesn't even have an under. It's like on a foundation of wood with some drawers. So there's no such thing as under the bed for me. So there's your great evolution theory debunked, Doctor.
All of a sudden, you have a dream where you get out of bed and one of the drawers opens up and trips you over.
I've stubbed my toe in those drawers before. They hurt.
Anyway, so they go back in time. Clara screwed up, and it's actually Danny Pink's past.
Well, see, the Doctor hooks her to the TARDIS telepathic circuits to go back to when she had this dream, but she gets a phone call, and that makes her think of Danny Pink, and that sends her back in time to Danny Pink's past.
Which I think is kind of neat, but also kind of unnecessary.
I don't know.
Because this feels like Danny Pink, like, if they were going to introduce a companion, Danny Pink as a companion, maybe they would have done more with this, but they end up not doing it. I mean, it would be neat if the Doctor learns about Danny Pink through all of this, and then he realizes, that's your date. Well, I now know everything about you and your great-grandson. Come along!
Well, there's no guarantee that... Well, we need to figure out that might happen somewhere down the line.
Well, I would not be surprised by the end of the season she's pregnant.
Oh boy, that's an interesting concept, but yeah. Oh, there's a great scene in the orphanage where little Danny, or Rupert, his birth name, where the Doctor's talking to a janitor and he's talking about all this spooky stuff like things turn off the TV. Have you ever noticed your coffee move and you never moved it? Ooh. And then the coffee mysteriously vanishes, and the janitor's spooked until it's revealed that the Doctor stole this guy's coffee.
Yeah. Well, I think the Doctor turned off the TV too. I think the whole thing was going on. The Doctor was doing everything just to scare the shit out of the janitor. And the psychic paper's back!
Yay, psychic papers. I can't remember the last time psychic paper was really used.
The Christmas Carol.
It had to be before that.
No, that was it. The Christmas Carol was the last time. And it shorted out, remember?
Christmas Carol? Oh, you're talking about Time and the Doctor.
No. I'm talking about the one with the little kid. I'm a sane and responsible adult. And then he pulls out the psychic paper and it, like, I finally told it to lie too big.
Really? The psychic paper never showed up in episode... Oh my god. I have to look this up, but I'm flabbergasted that hasn't shown up for 4 goddamn years.
No, it hasn't. It really hasn't.
My god.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I always assumed it was because the doctor Matt Smith broke it because he told the lie too big.
I'll have to fact check that, but okay. For now, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so psychic paper back. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Because some of the better scenes in the whole show revolves around it. You know.
Oh, it's a good way to just get the Doctor to places instead of the whole nonsense they did in the classic series where it's like, who are you? You're not allowed to be on this unauthorized base. Throw him in the jail cell for half an episode because the scriptwriter needs to pad this thing worse than a padded mattress.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on a deadline and I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. God damn it, Robert Holmes, what do you want?
So, basically, what goes on is, see, this is one of the things I kind of annoys me about this episode, and I think they're actually going to come back to this before the finale. While they're in the room, Clara's trying to cheer up little Danny, you know, and he's already just chilled up as is because there's a hot chick in his room.
Oh my god, he's like 10.
I know. And here she is, like, he's sitting on the floor, and she ends up sitting next to him cross-legged. You know, it's like, your legs are right there, ma'am.
Oh my.
Oh my. But, yeah. She ends up trying to cheer her up, and then something enters the room.
Oh man, this is a great scene for me because, well, Clara gets under the bed. She's trying to cheer little Danny Rupert up or whatever. And, well, she's got some nice maternal instincts. I guess it's because she works with kids. She's a teacher, you know. She should be good with kids. And they're under the bed, and it's just, there's no monsters. See, Danny? And then something sits on the bed, and it's just,
Monster on top of the bed, not underneath the bed.
Yeah. Oh, I hope that's the doctor. Oh, I hope that's the doctor. Oh, no, it's not.
And then there's
Something is on the bed.
And then there's this whole thing where it's like, what if it's one of your friends playing plank? What if it's not? What if it's actually something? And the doctor makes it to where everyone's looking away from it. And then, like, you could see somewhat, like, the blanket pulls off and it's like some sort of, like, weird head that's all blurred out.
It's blurred. Oh, that is a fantastic shot. That is just creepy.
It looks like his head from The Silence. Not gonna lie, it looks like one of The Silence's heads.
It could be anything. But
yeah.
if I just want to backtrack a bit because I really love the Doctor's entrance in this scene. He just flicks on the light during this tense scene. And he's reading a book about trains. He's complaining they can't find Waldo.
He can't find Wally. Yeah, it's Wally over the seas.
I guess that's the UK version of Waldo. But
it's
but
not
Wally's not
Wally.
in every book. Well, that's a few years of my life wasted. And then he has that amazing speech to Danny. I keep calling him flip-flopping between Danny and Rupert. Let's
just call him Pink.
Okay, Pink Floyd. He has this amazing speech to Pink Floyd about fear being a superpower, you know? Mm-hmm. And how the thing underneath the blanket, that thing's not afraid, so you're better than it. And he just convinces them to look away when it's great, and then you realize that it's all just a goddamn bluff because the Doctor's just as petrified of this thing. He's like, don't look. For the love of God, don't look.
And then all of a sudden it zooms out of the room. And the whole thing's never explained, why I think it's going to come back before the finale. Because
I hope it doesn't come back before the finale.
But it ticks me off that they didn't explain it.
Well, I can counter argue that sort of because sometimes you just don't need things to be explained. Like, look at say the God complex. You remember that episode, right? The hotel room with your worst fear in it. Mm-hmm. The Doctor opens his door. He looks in. And he's like, "Of course. What else could it be?" And you never found out what that was. And I liked that because it left the whole thing ambiguous. But then Time and the Doctor comes around, and they show what was in the room.
Yeah.
Ugh. That sort of pissed me off.
And I think eventually...
And while I can understand wanting to know what the holy hell that thing was, a part of me is okay with never knowing. A part of me is okay with the idea that this sort of Lovecraftian horrors, things that should not be, things that hide in the corner of your eye, things that the Doctor has no idea about because he doesn't know everything. The fact that these things can just lurk in our universe and we have no idea what they are. That is really effective to me. And if you explain it away as, oh, it was the silence, or oh, it was a Zog from Zarkon 4, that kind of kills that. It just cheapens it. It makes it a known thing. And it's like, oh, that's not so scary. When it can be anything, your mind makes it really damn scary. Even more so than anything that Stephen Moffat can write on that page.
Mm-hmm. But I do think it's going to get explained, though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So after that...
Well, they, I guess, the rest of the episode, they keep on going back to the present into a random timeline.
Yeah, they jump around a lot in time. Clara goes back to try her date again. And she does pretty good, and then she messes it up again, and Danny Pink is the one who storms off all angry. Pink Floyd goes off. So Clara runs back into the TARDIS, and she finds...
Awesome Pink!
Awesome Pink.
I know it's Oz.
Yeah, I saw that a lot. People in the Something Awful thread for Doctor Who, a lot of people kept saying that they heard his name as Awesome Pink, but it's Orson Pink.
Yeah, it sounds like they was calling him Awesome. It would not be a far reach because we had Journey Blue.
I mean, the naming system's all screwed up. And so Orson Pink is Danny Pink's great-grandson. From 100 years in the future. He's the first time traveler ever, or one of the first?
He's the first Earthian time traveler. Okay. Let's say it that way.
Let's put it like that, because if you try... I'm sure that at some point in Doctor Who history, they dealt with the first time travelers, and this episode blatantly contradicts it. But if you try to mix Doctor Who canon, you get some volatile... nonsense.
No, yeah, we're going to talk about Doctor Who canon here in a bit. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, Orson Pink, he's Earth's first time traveler, but his time machine screwed up and flung him to the end of the universe.
Which is quite different from the 10th Doctor's version of the
universe. Yeah, there's no Toclafane, there's no men with sharp, pointy teeth.
There's no hot bug lady.
Oh, Chantho.
Chantho.
You're your foe! My God, I've been stuck in this bloody body for 30 centuries or whatever. Dear Jacoby, you were a good master. But, we're getting really off topic here.
Yeah, so, we are, but...
Danny Pink stuck at the end of the universe... Not Danny Pink, Orson Pink stuck at the end of the universe for 6 months, and there's something out there, even though he should be the only thing that exists at the end of the universe.
I think this is probably where Moffat got the idea for the episode from, because the first back 200 years ago, someone wrote the scariest horror story ever. The last man alive sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That does sound like a good idea. That does sound a lot like. I would buy that Moffat got his inspiration from that, but it does definitely go into that.
Yeah, basically, long story short. Well, yeah.
We're at the end of the universe. Everything's dead. There should be nothing outside. There's no life. We're just waiting for the eventual decay. And there's a knock at the door.
And screams and scrapes and hollers and... Yeah.
And the Doctor wants to open the door and find out what that is.
And we have this weird scene where he's literally telling... Clara that if she doesn't listen to him, he'll never take her ever again.
He's a bit harsh. I mean, he just really wants to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Which, well, given what happens at the end of the episode, I think I can kind of understand why he's had this on his mind for a while, let's say, so now he's just at the verge of doing it, and he's like, I'm not going to let this girl tell me what to do. I'm about to figure this shit out. You get back in that TARDIS now. Do as you're told.
Yeah, I think it's more, I don't know. I think it's because he doesn't want to risk hurting her, or getting her hurt, or whatever.
Maybe that, too. I mean, pretty much after he opens the door, all the air gets sucked out, and he's almost sucked into the void.
Yeah, he gets knocked out a bit. And then we have the scene where Clara is trying to escape whatever it is, and then gets sent.
Oh, wait, well, we should probably wait a bit before that, because there's some weird, interesting, more ambiguity about whether or not there's actually anything out there. I mean, well, we do hear knocking, but the doctor does say that it could be just the hull cooling or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, well, something does break the air barrier around Orson's time machine, but that could also have been the doctor fucking around, because when Clara goes back in the TARDIS and looks at the scanner, it glitches out just as we're about to see what it is, and then the next thing we see is the doctor nearly getting sucked out before Orson pulls him back in. So it's pretty ambiguous, but there is more noise outside, but again, it could just be no air out there, something clanging around in the TARDIS, and the cloister bell goes off, which I'm not sure why the cloister bell goes off at this instance.
No.
But some have theorized it's because they're at the end of the universe, and the universe is ending, and the cloister bell is supposed to ring during universe-ending calamity, so...
Well, and then if the universe is ending, or if there's actually a monster out there,
I don't think the cloister bell would ring for just a random monster trying to get into the TARDIS. But then again, the cloister bell.
You gotta remember my theory, though. You gotta remember my theory. Every time the Doctor is in some sort of peril.
Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't in peril there. He was just sort of knocked out. He's dealt with worse.
There's also no shields. There's no safeguards around the TARDIS at this point in time, too.
That's right. Okay, that's a very good point. He did specifically say when he hooked Clara up to the telepathic circuits that he turned off all the safeguards and stuff, which is probably why he was able to get to the end of the universe to begin with.
He did mention that.
Yeah.
Well, normally the TARDIS should not be going out here, but some idiot turned off the safeguards.
Yeah, actually, it reminds me of well, we're talking Doctor Who canon. There's a 8th Doctor audio called Dark Eyes, and the Doctor, he just parted ways with a companion, and he's pretty torn up about it. So he decides to go to the end of the universe to just see how it all turns out, and it's really hard on the TARDIS. It's like cracking and groaning, and there's another Time Lord telling him, for God's sakes, Doctor, don't do that! That sort of thing. So, yeah, with the safeguards off, he's able to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that if the safeguards are also off, the shield around the TARDIS isn't there either.
So if there was anything out there...
It could have probably busted in, yes.
Okay, we've patched away this plot hole pretty good. There's definitely some ambiguity there. So, shall we talk about that final sequence?
So, this is another thing that kind of goes on, and you might... I mentioned this in the Skype chat, and I hope you actually thought about this. Is Gallifrey in a time lock to where the Doctor cannot go into any point in time to Gallifrey?
That I do not know, because, well, I'm pretty sure it's been mentioned a lot of times that he wouldn't want to go back. He can't go back even if he wanted to, and there's like... If Gallifrey wasn't time locked, then Rassilon and the Master could probably get out, and God knows what else. $1 billion Daleks from the war could get out.
If the Doctor somehow goes in there, he can risk taking anyone out with him. So, they go to Gallifrey.
Well, maybe that's just pre-time. Maybe that's just the Time War itself, or
no,
it might not be
all of it literally how it's explained is all of Gallifrey is locked.
Okay.
Which is why it's confusing me how they were able to go to...
Well, it's revealed that this place is that shack from Day of the Doctor, the one that John Hurt wants to push the button in. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's specifically on Gallifrey or if it's on another planet. If it's on another planet, that kind of makes no sense given the revelations that happen in Listen, but I'd buy that it's a separate planet from Gallifrey.
Okay. Well, okay, then that might also work as well, because if you remember the very controversial 8th Doctor line, you know, my mother was human, my father was...
Oh, half human on my mother's side. Oh, they go out of their way to retcon that later on, the 8th Doctor line. Like, I think there's a line in one of the audios, I want to say that it was, I'm blanking on the name of it right now. But it's one of the really good ones. But the Doctor mentions someone that he once fooled his arch nemesis into thinking that he was half human.
Okay. Well, there's a scene where...
Seasons of Fear, that's it.
Clara ends up someplace and she doesn't know where it is, so she thinks she's in either Orson's childhood or Rupert's childhood, and she's in some kind of barn, and the kid is crying, right?
Yep, there's a kid crying.
And she hears noises, so she jumps underneath the bed to find out that,
these guys are babbling. These like parents, I guess, they run an orphanage. They're babbling that you don't have to sleep out here. You can come into the house if you want. You don't need to sleep alone. And then here comes the revelation.
He's never going to be a Time Lord if he acts this way.
Dun 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 dun! Oh no!
Yeah, she went to the doctor's pass, and basically what ends up happening was,
little doctor goes to get out of bed, and she sort of on reflex reaches her hand out and grabs his ankle from under the bed. Oh no, it's a closed time loop, predestination paradox sort of thing.
And yeah, so she scares the complete,
shit out of the doctor.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's basically it. She ends up telling the doctor the same thing the doctor told Rupert.
Little Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And she says, fear makes companions of us all, which is cute, because that is a line that the first Doctor says in, one of the early episodes. One of the first 4 episodes, when they're in, the caveman era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100,000 BC. So that's the very first serial. So she says that, and it's a nice little tie-in that he remembers when he becomes William Hartnell and goes off on his...
And didn't she say there... Well, okay, so another part of this whole episode that we've been forgetting to mention was there's this little army soldier.
Oh, yeah, him.
Without a gun.
Soldier Man.
Yeah, without a gun, and basically, she's using these soldiers to protect, whatever.
She gives a little soldier boy... Yeah, she finds it in, Pink Floyd's chest of toys or whatever. Finds this little soldier with a gun and says, he'll protect you. He's brave. He doesn't need a gun because he's a commander. And then Orson has that toy soldier, and he says it's an old family heirloom. And then Clara takes it and gives it to the doctor.
And you said something on a rewatch whenever the whole scene of her telling Rupert about it.
Yeah, when Clara's in there with Pink Floyd giving him the toy. In the background, you can see Capaldi just sort of dart his eyes towards Clara and then look back.
Yes.
I think that could be a moment of recognition, like a little clue. I mean, for God's sakes, we're talking about Stephen Moffat here, the man who turned like a blooper. Oh, the doctor came back to visit Amy Pond and he's wearing the wrong thing. I bet it's an alternate doctor. Oh, no, it is! So I wouldn't put it past Moffat to have put that little clue in there.
Oh, we might have to have another 30 minutes to talk about time travel. Clara might not understand that.
Jesus.
I'm sorry, I still can't get over the fact that
Third generation.
Oh, God.
Oh, you impossible silly girl.
It's so bad. It's a bad writing. Anyway.
Well, okay. Well, have you got anything else to say about Listen?
Basically, it turned out to be nothing. She and Pink probably had a lot of sex.
Kuchiri, this is a children's program.
Oh, come on. You know what she was implying in the episode when she leaned in for the kiss.
I want to kiss you on the lips? Oh.
Remind me to teach you about the birds and the bees.
I already know about the bees. I've seen Unicorn and the Wasp.
God!
Oh, Lord sakes.
Oh, God. Why? Rainiac, please come back. Oh.
Rainiac's not going to come back. What are you talking about? There's no way he's possibly going to...
Boo!
Jesus!
What the fuck?
Oh, God, he's been hiding out of the corner of our eyes.
He was listening the whole time.
Great. Oh, God. Don't tell Jenna Coleman I said those things. Okay. Well, while you're here, Rainiac, what did you think of Listen?
Okay, so it was clear from the trailer last week that this was going to be a very different episode from what we'd previously seen in Series 8. And boy, was it ever! In the 3 previous stories, we followed a similar pattern each time in terms of the danger of the episode. There's a definitive main threat, which is either defeated or destroyed by the end of the episode, examples of this being the half-faced man, the Daleks, the robotic knights, etc., etc. There also seems to be this odd recurring theme with robots, or at least robotic adversaries, having a concept of beauty. This time round, we didn't get any of that. Not only is the monster not defeated, but it's entirely possible that we didn't actually have a monster to begin with, the true monster being fear itself. I also found this episode really hard to form an opinion on. I didn't know what to think about it after watching it the first time. It took me 2 further viewings to finally figure out how I felt, and even now, I'm not 100% sure. Frezno and Kuchiri did a very good job going through the episode as a whole already, so instead I'm going to focus on 3 specific scenes, and I think we can all guess which scenes they're going to be. Firstly, I love the whole bit in the orphanage between Clara, the Doctor, and young Rupert Pink. Clara's skills at handling children once again evident, and the Doctor even did a decent job of his whole being scared as a superpower talk to Rupert. As usual, the Doctor and Clara's chemistry was spot on throughout, save for perhaps the oddly placed scene at the end of the universe where the Doctor actually threatens Clara with never travelling with him again if she doesn't do as he says and gets into the TARDIS. Back to the orphanage, the creature sitting on the bed, whatever the hell it was really creepy, and I have no problem believing it had children scurrying behind their sofas when it first stood up. This portion of the episode reminded me of another story Stephen Moffat wrote, and it's probably not the one you're thinking of, which if I'm right is either the 11th Hour or the Impossible Astronaut Day of the Moon 2-parter. Although there are definitely similarities in the way that those stories operate in those episodes as well. Back in 2007, Moffat wrote a short story for that year's Doctor Who storybook. His story, entitled The Corner of Your Eye, was about a man who never left his house and was living with a silent passenger known as a floof, much like how the Doctor describes in his opening monologue of this episode. The difference between this particular story and Listen is that in Corner of Your Eye, not only is the monster given a name, as I've said before, it's called a floof, it makes a full appearance after being compelled to show itself by the Doctor. In Listen, they went a completely different route and deliberately kept things much vaguer, as Frezno has already stated, only showing a very brief glimpse of what was under the bedsheet, and even blurring that heavily. However, I personally feel that even showing that small teaser was a mistake, as a combination of that and having it disapparate out of the room Harry Potter style left us in no doubt that there actually was a creature in there with them. Considering that the resolution of this episode was that there was never anything under the bed, anything at the door, and the Doctor just didn't want to admit that he was afraid, that left this scene sticking out like a sore thumb. As Kuchiri has said, it's entirely possible they'll come back to this before the series is over, and I'm in 2 minds as to whether they should do that or not. On the one hand, I don't like having completely unexplained mysteries. But on the other hand, the last time we had a hotly anticipated mystery to be revealed at a later date was the silence. And we all know how badly they dropped the ball on that one, so maybe this is left better as a one-off. This brings me to the second scene I want to discuss, the Doctor trying to discover what's outside the door at the end of the universe. It wasn't immediately clear, but on second watch I noticed that it was the Doctor who unlocked the door rather than anything from the outside, using the sonic screwdriver, which fits in very nicely with his "I have to know" line. The Doctor came across as very selfish in this scene, and it almost ended up costing him everything. Clara tries to be the voice of reason in his moral compass, as she usually is, but for once his curiosity gets the best of him. Mind you, it's not like this is the first time this has ever happened. Back in Cold Blood, the 11th Doctor is about to escape into the TARDIS, but stops to investigate the crack in time that has appeared in the wall, which leads to Rory getting killed by Restak and subsequently erased from existence. I thought the staging of the whole sequence was pretty much spot on, and they did a really good job of not revealing too much while still keeping things exciting. I'm personally of the opinion that there was never anything outside the door in the first place, and the various noises were just that, noises. But of course, you're welcome to have your own opinions on this. By and large though, this was probably my favourite scene of the entire episode. Which brings us to the most contentious point of the entire episode, the series so far, and perhaps even the whole show since its revival. The young Doctor and Clara in the barn. Much like Kuchiri, I had a problem with them casually disregarding the time lock on Gallifrey and the Time War. I know the TARDIS safeguards were turned off, but you can't just ignore continuity whenever it suits your intentions. Another example of this that I really took issue with was the Doctor suddenly being afraid of the dark. I get that it needed to be in there to make the last minutes of the episode make sense, but not only did it come completely out of left field, it also contradicted one of Moffat's previous two-parters, Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. The monsters in that episode, if you recall, the Vashta-Narada, are living shadows. In other words, they're an embodiment of the dark. And yet, despite what we learn in this story, the Doctor never once seems afraid of them. It's almost as if when Moffat took over as showrunner, he decided to completely disregard everything that had come before him plot-wise, including the stories that he himself had written. Now, in defense of this scene, I will say that it was brilliantly filmed, again showing just enough of the child Doctor to let us know that it's definitely him, yet at the same time not showing too much. Jenna Coleman's acting was once again superb as well, and I love the tie-in back to the Day of the Doctor and the barn where the War Doctor chose to activate the moment. If I'm being honest though, those were the only gripes that I had. Everything else was pretty much spot on for me. And if I complain any further, I'd just be nitpicking. So overall, while I had problems with some of the choices Stephen Moffat took with the writing, this was still a very good episode. At least it was after my third viewing. Other people on the internet have been quick to proclaim this episode the best ever. And while it's way too soon to say things like that, ultimately Stephen Moffat presented us with something very unique for this show. A story about a monster that may not have actually existed outside of our imaginations. And while the execution may have dragged it down slightly, the initial concept alone was enough to hook me. I'm having a hard time trying to rank the story against what we've seen so far in the Capaldi era, but that's more of a testament to the high quality of the series up to now than anything else. And that's what I thought about Listen.
Well said. Well said. So, I think we can wrap this up, can't we? I mean, he's kind of looking at me a little odd here sitting in the captain's chair.
I told you not to sit in it, man. I mean, you're probably screwed up his whole butt print.
Ugh, his ass groove will be fine. Right, so that was Listen. I thought it was a very good episode. It definitely played a lot on fear and paranoia, and had enough ambiguity that really made it unsettling and great for me. A few sour notes with the date scene, but all in all, I would probably say that I think it's the best episode so far of the Capaldi era.
I think it could have been better. I wish they had different preview instead of a rehashed Blink preview, but maybe actually have a monster for once. I don't know.
Monsters in like every story.
No, but I mean like an actual scary monster. We haven't had scary since Blink.
Well, I'm trying to think here. There's some monsters that have been a little spooky, but yeah, I guess you make a good point. So next week, Time Heist!
See you guys then.
Okay, bye for now.